Education is not only about answers, it is about learning how to question, how to speak with confidence, and how to think. When you came to Fab India School, what was the first thing that surprised you?
A lot of students, when we walk into class, they stand up at their desk and greet us, "Good morning, ma'am," "Good morning, sir," which is definitely something different than the US. But I think that
When it comes to speaking this English language, they hesitate a lot. So what do you think is the challenge?
In most of the cases, confidence, really. I think what stops them is probably fear of being judged or making mistakes.
Marriage, choices, how were your students responding to that? What was your main goal from addressing these kind of topics to them?
to what our goal was, voice their opinion, give reason, and then most importantly, understand the other side.
And you have been invited to many students' houses.
It's definitely been a highlight of the trip for me.
Maybe you have become an example of butterfly effect in their lives.
The thing with the butterfly effect is that it certainly is a possibility no matter what the act is, but
How do you see the school now?
largest learning experience is the amount of differences and the amount of similarities that I see.
One word that describes this entire experience at Fab India School.
I would say jackass.
I would say transfixing.
In Indian education system, I also feel that there should be more healthy conversations between a student and the teacher. How do you think that can change?
Yeah, well, I'd say,
What happens when a classroom becomes more than a place to learn? What happens when young minds are trusted with big questions like choices, identity, language, and unseen forces that quietly shape their lives? At Fab India School in Bali, Rajasthan, students from different economic and social background sit side by side. Here, education is not only about answers, it is about learning how to question, how to speak with confidence, and how to think. Hello, and welcome to Learnings Unscripted. Today, I have two very interesting personalities with me. Over the past 2 weeks, we have two volunteers from Colorado College at Fab India School who have come to teach communications, English communication skills to students from grade 7 to 9. Welcome to the podcast, Snežana and Jens. Before we dive into the deep and intense questions, firstly, I know that you both are in the second year of your undergrad and you both have different subjects. So before we actually talk more about the school and your experiences at Fab India School, why don't you share about why are you studying what you're studying? And Snežana, why don't you go first?
Yeah, thank you for this wonderful introduction, Arya, and for organizing this podcast. It's our privilege to be here. And I would like to say, yeah, I'm studying economics, and I think the reason why it's in the best way that I can say it's just kind of putting all of my interests under one umbrella. And I think it's really, kind of addressing so many different things and issues that are happening around the world. So I think in that way, I actually chose it very recently. So I think in that way, I could actually, do so many things. So I guess that's why I chose economics, yeah.
Amazing. What about you, Jens?
Yeah, so I'm a pre-med student. I'm studying neuroscience at Colorado College, like you said. And why I chose this was a journey of thinking that I wanted to be multiple different things throughout high school. I thought I wanted to be an architect. Then I thought that I wanted to be a physical therapist. And now I'm pre-med, which is just one of my many things. Maybe it'll change again. But I think finding something for me that is larger than I am, that I can belong to for a profession is very important. And if I can provide care to people, that is something that is definitely larger than I am.
Nice. So when you came to Fab India School and when you entered these classrooms, what was the first thing that surprised you?
Yeah, I would say kind of realizing how impactful my words could be, and in a way, I really love to talk a lot, and I'm really talkative person. So I think understanding that I need to choose my words very carefully, because kids are kind of like sponges, and they really uh, hear everything you say, and they're gonna carry with them all of these things that I say. And I think I really learned how to, or I'm still learning actually, how to be more intentional with things that I'm saying out loud. And about them, I think how respectful they are towards teachers, especially when it comes to the way they're addressing us with ma'am and sir. That was very lovely to see, and just very different from what I've experienced in the US or back home.
Yes. So you call them by their first name or by their surname back in the US in schools, is it?
Yeah, by their surname, it's usually Mr. or Miss.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Jens? What surprised you?
As Snežana said, the formalities. A lot of students, when we walk into class, they stand up at their desk and greet us, "Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir," which is definitely something different than the US. But I think the genuine curiosity for not necessarily what our lesson plan was of the day, but just for getting to see someone from a different place of the world was very interesting to see the wonder that was expressed in their eyes, and feeling the same in return, knowing that their upbringing, their social circles, and their home life is so drastically different than what we had. It's interesting to see how that might affect what the students bring to the classroom.
Okay. And initially, my understanding is that you were given grade 6 to 8. And then you I guess, grade 6 was replaced with grade 9. So can you tell me what changed? Why did you choose grade 9 instead?
I think our initial idea or plan, when it comes to just our purpose here, right, was not translating well to the younger students. So I think we kind of together decided that maybe working with more older students, right, would be better in terms of, I think they're maybe more emotionally mature to discuss certain topics that we wanted to bring up. So that was probably one of the main reasons, and I think it was a good idea.
Yeah.
So I've been in many of your classes, and you have covered a lot of interesting topics. People, I don't think they ever heard about these new terms that you brought. And one of that was the butterfly effect. And it was interesting how basically you also involved students, and you would give, live examples about it. So it was interesting when you were giving them examples about the butterfly effect. When did you realize, or did you realize that maybe you have become a part of, an example of butterfly effect in their lives? Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, the thing with the butterfly effect is that it certainly is a possibility no matter what the act is, but I would hope that we have a lasting effect on the students. Like Snežana was saying, they're all very impressionable. They look up to us a lot, and every word that we say like really sticks with them. They'll come up to us a couple days later and repeat something that we told them in class that we barely remember. So we definitely need to be intentional about what we tell them, but I think there's definitely a possibility that this could be the start to a butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also add to what he said. It was probably even like some smaller moments or situations that we had, and one day we also missed school. And I think just hearing how upset they were that we might have left, or that we are already gone, and like not even saying bye to them, or just like that moment of, realization, oh, they're maybe not here anymore. And hearing about their reactions, I think, oh, maybe we do, in some way, maybe we do make something here, right? Like maybe
you are
have
making
some
an
impact, right? And also probably when, there is a lunchtime, and when they think of us the day before, probably, and what they're gonna bring to us to try, like what food or snack. So just being intentional about their actions. They're like, oh, I brought you this, I want you to try. So probably kind of thinking about how we could, be
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So you also, while you were explaining the butterfly effect to the students, you also shared about how did you two meet as an example of that butterfly effect. So first of all, I would like you to again, maybe share with the audience how you two met, and also why did you think that was important to share with the students? How do you think? Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Jens.
So the story is me and Snežana met because we're co-workers in Adam F. Press Fitness Center at Colorado College.
Nice.
Greetings.
Yeah, shout out. And so the story goes, one day Snežana was working and the woman that she was scheduled to work with ended up being sick. And so she was sick, left work, it was just Snežana. And I ended up picking up that shift. So I worked with Snežana. It was the first time that I met her, which the first butterfly flapping its wings in this example is that the girl became sick. And after that, me and Snežana became friends. And then maybe some 3 or 4 weeks later, Snežana approached me about this idea of coming to India that she heard from one of her education professors. So from that, we ended up coming to India eventually. Obviously, we're here now. We're with the school and with the students. So the example was, we ended up across the world in India for 3 weeks in your classroom teaching you about this, possibly only because Snežana's coworker was sick the other day, So that very small change had this very massive effect on our lives.
Exactly. You wouldn't have been here otherwise,
this
maybe.
podcast, right?
Exactly. This is
Exactly.
one of the butterfly effects. Yes,
Exactly.
yes. So, you must have seen that a lot of students speak multiple languages here. The local languages, Marwari, Hindi. But when it comes to English, and they're also studying in an English medium school, but when it comes to speaking this English language, they hesitate a lot. So what do you think is the challenge? Do you think it's the confidence, or do you think it's the language in itself?
I would say it's in most of the cases confidence, really. I think students are capable. I think what stops them is probably fear of being judged or making mistakes or, overthinking grammar. I've been there myself, and I think once they overcome this, it's really very easy, So I think in most of the cases it's confidence, really.
And confidence as well, if you do think it is an issue with the English level,
Yeah.
the only way you get better is by practicing. And if they aren't confident enough to practice, they're not going to be able to get to the next level. So then there it even comes back to confidence. That was one of the main things that we tried doing in the classrooms was the first and second day was really just a couple games, trying to get them to know us and us to know them, and making sure that they were comfortable speaking English. A lot of students would stand up when it was their turn to speak and would look around and their face would get a little bit red and they'd get nervous. And we just really tried to break it down maybe into smaller groups or like talk about, oh, I always mess up, or Snežana is an English learning student was also able to say like, yeah, that was hard for me. I remember when that was hard. So just make it like relatable and understandable and make the environment learning, not as much performing, because that's what we were there to do.
Yeah. Do you speak like English is your first language? Do you speak any other language?
Like a tiny bit of Spanish, but I shouldn't even claim to speak it. It's so bad.
Okay. And as you said, like you also learned English. It wasn't your first language. So, and it's the same with me. So tell me like how, I think you could relate that when we started learning English, we would kind of mentally also translate it in our head if somebody was saying it. But when did and how did it happen that you actually also started thinking, expressing yourself in this language? Tell me about your experience regarding.
Yeah, it's now 4th year how I'm studying abroad, and actually I would say living in English for majority of the time. I'm communicating, studying, doing everything in English, and it's very small portion of my time where I'm actually using my first language, and that's usually when I talk to my family back home in Serbia.
Yeah.
But I would say after these 4 years, I obviously became more confident in expressing myself, but I definitely still do see all of the limits when it comes to expressing my emotions or just like things I actually want to say. And I do certainly think that different versions of me exist in different languages, and I really wish so many of my international friends could see and get to know Serbian me, because she's different, and especially when it comes to jokes, I think that's
I
something I
agree.
just
Yes,
cannot,
yes, yeah.
and that's definitely there for a lot of, people who are using English in their daily communication, but not their first language. But yeah, I think I definitely noticed that sometimes it could be really challenging to express yourself. And I'm still, working on all of that. But obviously, I don't think I'll ever have, my complete full version of me in
In
English.
English.
Ever, yeah.
I guess this is a challenge for most of the people whose first language is not English. And I also understand, because you have certain jokes which you've been, you know, basically been around saying that, throwing those jokes around with the people you've been comfortable with since you were kids and all. But I think that is the challenge with me as well. I feel I've become a little professional when it comes to English language, but then I think it's also nice to have people speaking multi languages. I think that's the only way to be, not just be comfortable in one language, maybe speak, just like you said, Spanish. I'm learning French. And, our classes they only started speaking in French and everyone was so confused. But I guess, again, as we said, that although English is not our first language, but, the moment you start speaking and start reading and, talking in that language, you also start thinking, your ideas also start building up in that language itself. So yeah, that's a part to think about. My next question is that, again, you have, and it's a very interesting thing that I saw, that you've been observing the students and you've been observing how they behave around you and how they are. And that's why I think you also wanted to introduce them to some intense topics, I might say, which you might felt that it could go either way. And you were being pretty careful. So I saw that your questions were around, you played a game with them, this or that. And your questions were around caste, marriage, choices, basically. How did you see, how were your students responding to that? And what was your main goal from addressing these kind of topics to them?
I think they were already, thinking about all of these things, and they were ready to discuss them. Obviously, I think that it was maybe one of the first times when they addressed it in such way. And I think that it wasn't new to them in that way, but it was more so, oh, now we have safe space where we can talk about these things. And no matter what I choose, I'm not going to be judged. So I think just providing, a platform or, space in classroom where they can actually voice their opinions was the main goal. And just having them hear different side, different opinion, and try to understand it.
All it was about was starting a conversation in the classroom about these really relevant issues. It's who you're going to spend the rest of your life with or how you're going to judge someone. So it was really just about giving them a space that they felt like they could voice their opinion, give reason, and then most importantly, understand the other side, I think. So just kind of challenging their beliefs and making what they hold to be true rooted with reason and knowing what their peers are thinking about issues on such topics.
I agree with it. Do you think classrooms actually need more, controversial topics like these? How do you see, how do you think that's going to help the students or the society in the long run? I know it's important, and I'm sure you also agree with it. That's why you introduced it. So how do you think having these uncomfortable conversations for them, how do you think that can help them become better and responsible citizens in future?
Yeah, so I think just normalizing conversations around anything with identity or these social issues is really important, because having the ability to understand the other side in any situation, whether it be some petty argument you're having with your friend, or if it's a large scale issue like social identity. It's most important that you have the capability to understand the other side and talk to them as an equal instead of having them immediately be the other. And I think when there isn't a area for people to have conversation in classroom where they're with people other than them, and maybe stuff's only talked about within the family, or even stuff is suppressed within yourself, then when it does come out, you've already kind of made up your mind, you've put up a wall, and you've decided I'm attacking the other, instead of talking with the other and having conversations that can maybe challenge you and then also challenge the people that you want to challenge in more meaningful ways.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I think that especially at schools and at their age, some topics should be discussed, and even though they're taboo or really something we don't talk about that. It's very important because I think these conversations stay with students with us for the rest of our lives, or especially if you're addressing something like that it's very present and relevant in certain communities. I think it should be discussed because we are just putting it under the carpet, and then we are dealing with this and we are living with this, but we are not really talking about it. And it's very important, especially again, as I said, in classrooms. It's very important because it's the best place to start with thoughts around this.
Yeah. How many days has it been for you, Go, now?
I would say 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes.
More
So,
or less.
and you're leaving soon.
Yeah.
And you have been invited to many students' houses. Why don't you share about that?
It's definitely been a highlight of the trip for me.
Yeah.
Getting to see what a real life is like from the inside of a house is very different than being a tourist, in Jaipur or whatever, where you see the faces of people, but you don't know what's going on behind the walls of their family, and seeing how mothers interact with their kids and what's expected of them varies a lot between households, but it's very interesting to compare to your own upbringing, and then just exposure to different stuff is really beautiful to experience their culture within a home.
Mm-hmm. Did you have good food?
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's maybe why it was highlight. No,
I think it was very good learning opportunity too. Honestly, I really appreciate all of the invitations and really the opportunity to spend time with people of India here, and it's been really wonderful. I don't even know how to describe how warm people were to us and kind and open to talk and share. It was really wonderful, and I had a lot of chai.
yes. Yeah. I
Nice.
like to. Yes.
Awesome. Were you a tea person, or you were a coffee person? You used to have black coffee. Now it's like, no, chai. That's nice. So how do you see the school now? Because it's almost over for, your volunteer days. Yeah.
I would say for me, the largest learning experience is the amount of differences and the amount of similarities that I see. So many things are so different, but there's also so many things. I don't know if it's just about humanity or people trying to figure out who they are in high school and navigating social circles or anything like that. I don't know what it is, but it is beautiful to see that across the world, there's very similar experiences in very different circumstances. It's just beautiful to see myself and other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it was a great reminder to appreciate small moments and the beauty of them. Honestly, just spending even 2 or 3 minutes talking to some students, and then some of the thoughts or things that they told me would stay with me for such a long time. And I think these connections that we made are really going to be something I'm bringing with me always and everywhere I go. Honestly, I think it's been just a great reminder, honestly, that life is really about small moments. And yeah, it was, also what he said. It's been really enjoyable, honestly.
And I did see you're just surrounded by all these students all the time. They don't want to leave you alone at all.
Kind of celebrities.
Yeah, you are the celebrities here, and they're very curious about you. They want to be your friends, and I've seen them how they're proudly mentioning it to their friends that, oh, yeah, I spoke to Jens, I spoke to Snežana.
Show them the picture.
Yes, exactly. So now they think they're your friends, and of course, like you do consider them their friends. Do you think at some point, not at some point, do you think if right now they visit your home back in the US or they see your life there, what do you think they will get any sort of surprises or shock or
I think that they would be actually surprised by how similar things are in a way that, like, I think people back home in Serbia are really open and there's a lot of hospitality, and you would probably be very welcome to sit in our house and just eat and like have a lot of like all of the traditional food and snacks and drinks and everything. But maybe they would also be surprised that there is not chai.
As they know it. Yeah, that's one.
That's one thing for sure. But yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities, but yeah, probably the biggest surprise is, oh, this is actually similar in so many ways.
I think it would also be a social surprise if they came to the US. I'm from Minnesota and we're notoriously nice and warm. Minnesota nice is a whole thing. But I would say it like really does not stand in the way of their hospitality and warmth. I think that they'd be really surprised by the way that people on the sidewalk put their head down and walk by each other, maybe say hello at most. But here it's and maybe it's just because we're outsiders and they're so curious about us, but everyone's really has time for conversation. They're never in a rush. They're just trying to get to know who you are, start a conversation, sit on the sidewalk, talk about whatever.
Yeah.
Just want to have social interactions.
And also about how do you think if one of the students right after 12th goes to Colorado College, how do you think, what are the cultural shocks that they should be ready for maybe?
Well, within a classroom, probably a lot. Again, I think we kind of talked about this earlier. The way everything is, really, it's very different. I don't even know where I would start. It is really different environment.
Yeah, I would say here there's a very established difference between a teacher and the students, and the teachers talk up to the students and the teachers expand their knowledge, in a nice way. I'm trying to say. That really doesn't exist, at least in my classrooms, and I think that is something of like going to college because students have demonstrated that they are invested into learning and they care about their education to the point that it's more just conversing with the teachers instead of the formalities of standing when you speak and only speaking if you're called on, and not really having a conversation as much as answering the questions that are asked to you and asking students questions and only getting out of them what you ask and what you prompt, instead of students raising hands about genuine curiosities that they might find.
Right. This is one of the feedback maybe that, in Indian education system, this is how even when I was in school, we had been following this. And I also feel that we need to have more open, healthy conversation. There should be more healthy conversation between a student and the teacher. How do you think that can change? And this is, I think, because Fab India School is in one of the rural setup of India. Back in the Indian cities, it might be a little different. But at the same time, how do you think they can change for a little for the better? And, how can a teacher have more healthy conversations? Or it's not just, it's about like treating two different individuals, and it's just about two friends who are talking to each other, trying to learn from each other at the same time. How do you think one can do that over here?
Yeah, well, I'd say, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Yeah. So probably challenging some of the existing relationships that exist in these schools, frankly. But I would say that also there are students that are excited to have those conversations, and I've seen a lot of teachers who will talk with their students about such things, talking to them eye to eye, I'd say just continuing to try to bring that into the classroom and having conversations about these things that are the larger questions in life instead of what was last night's homework about, the things that will make you have conversations with your family at dinner, make you write in your journal about them or talk with friends outside of school.
Yeah.
These bigger issues.
So that means like having those uncomfortable,
Exactly.
talking about these uncomfortable topics actually.
Yeah, and I would say probably as a teacher and as an educator, make sure that you're not, being so repetitive and predictable. Challenge them as Jen said earlier, and try to make learning fun. And I think that was also one of our big goals while being here. Learning could happen in so many ways. Let's make it fun and enjoyable experience while it's also challenging in the same time. But also be vulnerable with your students, because that's also maybe coming back to one of the earlier questions about the sharing our story about the butterfly effect and everything. I think that in some way vulnerability kind of builds bridges between students and teachers, and it's very important to make some relevance in what you're teaching. So in that way, yeah.
And that being said, we both have a tremendous amount of respect for the students and teachers here. And the couple of classrooms that we have sat in on, a lot of the teachers are having these conversations and they are genuinely asking students about these tougher questions. But it might be a little bit of a gap, but I think a great job is being done here.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you hope them to remember?
Yeah, I think I would say one of the big things we focused on again was why. All the time we would ask them why. Why do you believe in this? Why do you think this way? And question yourself constantly, and look at the roots of your beliefs, and where is this coming from? Ask yourself constantly, but also I would like them to remember that their opinions do matter and that their voices are heard. And I think that's what we really try to, create in our classroom.
Right.
Like each student's voice is really important. And I hope they remember that.
Yeah, we talked a lot about beliefs, and the whole thing about why is like, if you can't explain why you believe something, do you really believe it? Do you have reason, stand for something or fall for anything? Students need to have a reason that they believe what they do. And if they don't, they should think about it, and they should have these conversations with other students or other people or research online. But really just thinking about things from a base level and not accepting because that's the way it is for an answer about anything in life. And I think that's also what will have genuine curiosity rise within the students instead of memorizing something out of a textbook in a science class. Think about why. Why do the clouds go the way they do? Why do animals live in these habitats or have these social circles? It's really like building genuine curiosity and striving for understanding that they can stand behind and be comfortable with their knowledge and such things, while also being ready to learn more and be challenged.
Okay. You played a game with all your students, this or that. And now is my time to play it with you.
Okay.
So this is the fun segment actually.
Yeah.
Okay, the first is teaching or listening?
Listening.
Yeah, this is hard. I would definitely say listening. Yeah.
Listening. Structure or being spontaneous?
Well, I would say the most beautiful memories that I have come from, spontaneity. So I would say be spontaneous.
I would say structure. I mean, being spontaneous is the reason that we got here, and a lot of my
That's true.
favorite memories are from spontaneous actions. But I think as far as finding meaning in your life and building towards those core things that you really know to be true about yourself and the pillars of your life, structure is so important for that.
And structure does allow you to actually be spontaneous. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, right. If you don't have structure, then
So maybe the balance of both. Yeah. Next is storytelling or debate?
for the rest of my life. Debate. I think I learned so much from these. Not that I love to argue, maybe, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also say debate. Yeah.
Okay. Tradition or questioning tradition?
questioning tradition.
This is hard. There's so many options for both. I would say tradition. I think it's a great way to be connected to who you are and the people that brought you to be where you are, because a lot of, especially modern life, I feel that I'm not too grounded or understanding of that sometimes. Not that I don't think question. It's important.
Okay. Big dreams or small, consistent steps?
Well, one of the big dreams I had was to come to India one day, but I think what brought me here is these small, consistent steps. So I would say both.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say both, but if I had to pick one, big dreams, because, you can have an idea of where you want to be eventually and then make your way there eventually.
Okay. Learning from books or learning from people?
We always say back home that each person is a book. So learning from people, I think.
Yeah.
I would say learning from books. I feel like ideas are more well articulated in them, and also greater thing. Like, you can have a conversation with the greatest thinkers of all time because they're mass-produced books, and they're like most polished, precise ways of saying what they deeply believed in. If conversations with people were important, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with Abraham Lincoln unless I was able to read about him.
Yeah.
Sure. Staying curious or being certain?
I feel like at this point in my life, staying curious is more important, but it's, I think being so curious is rooted in my hopes of being certain.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Curiosity, yes, for me.
Okay. One final question. One word that describes this entire experience at Fabulous School or outside of it in Bali, Rajasthan.
In English, I would love to reference our internal jokes. I would say beautiful, but
In Hindi, I would say jackass.
Oh,
Yes.
nice. Taught by your students in Fabulous School?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I would say transfixing, and that it was very surprising, but I think that it will have a long-lasting effect on me.
Nice, nice. So thank you both for coming to our first podcast show. And I hope you have a great journey back to your college. And I hope you remember this experience forever.
I'm sure.
Yes.
That for
Yes.
sure.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Areji. At Fabulous Schools, learning doesn't end when the class does. It lives on in the questions students carry home, in the conversations they continue, and in the quiet shifts in how they see themselves and the world around them. Learnings Unscripted is a space for those conversations where education meets experience and listening matters as much as speaking. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Until next time, keep asking better questions.